Welcome back, everybody, to episode 2,
G'day, g'day.
where we are sharing Lily's birth story. I'm so excited because I haven't even written about this yet.
You haven't?
So it feels like brand new territory where it's kind of sacred. Like nobody knows what happened.
And very different to Nora's birth as well.
At times,
Yeah.
similarities and differences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we need to touch on the last couple of nights because as parents, again, I'm exhausted. We had a bat in the house the other night. I got up to feed Lily. I fed her. It was about 4:00 and the monitor, I was there with the monitor waiting for her to settle before going back into the room so I wouldn't wake you up, Les. And I hear this thing hitting the window and the door, and I'm like, is that like a burglar outside? I turn my flashlight on and there's a bat inside the house.
Yeah.
Like, has anybody ever had a bat in their house?
I'm sure we are not the only ones.
I've never had a bat in any place.
I think it's actually a pretty bad omen, unfortunately, but I don't think there is said bat in our home anymore.
There wasn't, because I opened both doors. It's freezing outside, and I was in I got gloves. It was like hanging on the curtain as bats do, and I was about to get it, and it ended up flying outside after about 10, 15 minutes. It swooped me a few times. I was shit scared, and I'm like okay with animals and those types of things, but yeah, you think about rabies and all of these things, diseases it carries, but
yeah. And for everybody freaking out, saying we should get rabies shots, all the interior doors were closed and nobody got bitten or eaten by this bat.
It was close to my head a few times in the stress of it all, flying, trying to get out, but we're all good. And then last night we had a tornado warning.
I mean, it literally just snowed here a week ago. And last night we had tornado sirens going off at 12:30 a.m.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to snow again in a few days. Like, it is the most wild weather I've ever experienced.
And that wake-up call after the bat incident the night before, it was like an Amber Alert. Both our phones went completely off. Then we turned the weather channel on, and
I was just wide awake. And then right about the time I started drifting off, sweet Lily decided she was hungry.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the last couple of nights, just to give you an idea of...
Thank you, coffee.
Yeah, where would we be without coffee? So
I love language.
So let's dive into Lily's birth story.
That's like a shot of espresso in and of itself. Y'all, I fully realize this comes from a very privileged standpoint and experience, but there is truly not anything else in this entire world that is more thrilling than childbirth.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't know.
I have no idea.
But truly, I mean, if I could do that every day and, continue to have those great, amazing experiences, I would.
Yeah. And shout out to all those friends and people we know struggling to give birth. I just want to call that out before we dive into this.
Absolutely. I feel at times that I am surrounded by infertility. Yeah. And so every day to wake up to my family, it's a blessing. And my heart goes out to everybody trying to conceive and those who have experienced loss in the past. My heart truly, truly goes out to you.
Yeah. We all know someone who has been through it. Miscarriages, they've had multiple in our family, and seeing it on social media so much through friends, it's hard. So just wanted to call that out before diving into our birth story, where we think and pray for all those trying to conceive and have a little baby.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So going back to, gosh, I was convinced we were having an October baby. Absolutely convinced.
Well, Nora came early.
She sure did. She came exactly 3 weeks early. And she came out like a freaking hurricane.
I feel like you thought you were going to have a pretty similar pregnancy. Like, Nora came early. They say the second one usually comes earlier. Maybe is that an old wives' tale?
Who knows? It didn't happen. It didn't happen. But yeah, I was convinced Lily was coming early, around the same time frame as Nora. So we had gotten everything ready, and I was ready. But I did get a lot of people, DMing me and messaging me saying, "Look, don't be surprised if this baby comes on time or late, because it doesn't ever happen like the way you think it's going to.
Yeah.
And so while they tried to mentally prep me, I was like, no. This is going to be early. It's going to be fine. It's going to be great. It's gonna
just
be...
as like October and like, it was mid to late October. And then we're going into these appointments, the checkups, and the doctor's getting a little bit more concerned because Leslie's AMA, which I had no idea. I was like, ask me anything. What does AMA stand for? I kind of like looked at Les like this idiot.
Well, you knew we had to go to the doctor more than with Nora because I am over 35. So yeah, advanced maternal age.
Yes. Not ask me anything.
But also ask me anything.
Yeah. Two totally different things.
Yes. But this part, it's so interesting to see the differences between being pregnant at 33, right? 33 and being pregnant into 36.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think it's so interesting because I have talked to a lot of my friends in different states who have been pregnant and they're like, what? Like, I didn't get treated like a geriatric pregnancy, even though I'm 35 or older. And so it's different in different states and different cities. I think in the bigger cities like Dallas or LA, they don't necessarily consider you geriatric or AMA 35 or older.
Yeah.
Maybe until a lot older. But our doctor said that, they see a lot of people well into the 40s these days. So I obviously it's a different world than what our parents lived in and had kids in.
Everyone's having kids a lot later in age now. They want to be better set up and
and no regrets.
None.
None at all. So yeah, October hits. We're ready, more than ready, beyond ready. So much so that I'm like, okay, it's like October 20th. And that's when my mom was like, okay, if you could have the baby at any date, what would it be? I was like, October 20th, let's go. And October 20th came and went. And then the 21st came and went.
Well, you're a big star sign. You're into astrology.
Yes.
So you want to...
I thought she was for sure going to be a Libra. I was like, I love Libras. They are a great astrological sign of all the star signs, sun signs. And she turns out she wasn't a Libra.
She wanted to stay in there.
She did. So big, this might come as a surprise to a lot of people. I don't think I've ever shared this yet on social media, but I did the one thing I didn't want to do for this pregnancy. And so many people are like, oh, what's your birth plan? And I'm like, to have a healthy baby.
Yeah.
There is no real birth plan. Like, that's it. Like, just have a healthy baby. So when Dr. Amy said I should be induced, I didn't want to do that, but I certainly listened to her opinion because I believe in medicine, modern medicine. I'm so thankful for it. And she is the professional here. So even though no part of me ever wanted to get induced, like I want fate to take over. I want that birthday to come on its own.
Like Nora's, we had this ice storm come and it was like that temperature dropping and the ice coming triggered your water breaking. And you didn't get that this time.
I'm a big believer that barometric pressure drop was the reason Nora came early.
100%.
Yeah, I fully believe that. And a lot of the nurses said the hospital was jam-packed that night.
And that didn't happen. So to be induced, and then this is where we got into a bit of a friendly debate about the date. It's like, oh, should we have a Halloween baby? I'm like, absolutely not. I mean, you guys are crazy on Halloween. Like Australia, we get into it. You guys are the most festive motherfuckers in the world. I'm telling you.
Welcome
I'm like, I do
to
not
America.
want my child to have a Halloween birthday. Sorry to everyone born on Halloween.
Honestly,
but
I left that appointment when Dr. Amy was like, okay, like, what do you think? When do you want to have this baby? And I'm like, oh, you're asking the most indecisive person on the face of the planet to choose her child's birthday? Like, I can't do that. I can't do such a thing.
So indecisive on certain things. It's like,
yeah. And especially that. So, I went home from that appointment and I was like, where is the moon? Like, obviously I knew where the sun was. It had already turned to watery Scorpio. My two best girlfriends are Scorpios. And so I should have always welcomed it with open arms. And I do now. And it turns out she is a Scorpio sun, a Cancer moon, and a Taurus rising. So she is my water earth baby. And that is very opposite of my almost full fire being.
Yeah.
But the very, very cool thing about this is she balances out our family, because you are a earth sign. I'm a fire sign. Nora's an air sign, and Lily is a water sign.
So many signs. I'm not into it as much as Les, but when she reads my reading of I'm like, yeah, that's me. They just know.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. It just makes sense, okay? And it really is just another way of allowing you to understand the people around you. So take it with a grain of salt. But Lily certainly balances out our family beautifully. And it was just hard coming home from that appointment, because it was like, okay, should we do a Halloween baby? Like, should we?
You were thinking about it, and I'm just like, no.
I mean, our lives would literally revolve heavily around, like, we'd be that family throwing big Halloween parties every year.
I'm one of those, like, people. My cousin has a birthday on Christmas Day, and if you have a choice,
I'm sorry for all the Christmas Day babies out there.
Yeah, sorry. If you have a choice to pick your day, not that we wanted to pick the day, but we did because she was induced. It's like, let's not put it on like a really big,
Okay.
holiday.
So if it wasn't Halloween, it was going to be All Saints Day, November 1st, or Day of the Dead, November 1st or 2nd. I think it's celebrated both days. I mean, there were just so many options. And so, I did some mad research. Ultimately, I love an even number. And, the day after a holiday, nobody wants that either.
No.
So November 2nd it was.
Yeah.
And another telling sign was Dr. Amy, the day before we saw her at that appointment, she had actually just delivered somebody who had an induction appointment on the 2nd of November.
So we got that.
I took her spot.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit of fate there too.
Yeah.
Thrown in.
Yeah. Do we talk about the inducing, like the process of it? Is it too much for some people? Like,
I don't care. This is our truth. Like, this is what happened. So we'll share it all.
This was a learning experience for me too. They had to come in with a stick.
Oh, okay. That is frightening to even depict it as
so,
that.
Do you want to elaborate on what this is? It was actually a pretty cool story that Amy knew the guy that invented it too, the doctor.
When did she tell that story?
You didn't know? You didn't hear that?
When was that told?
I'm sure she knew the doctor that invented the special instrument. Let's not call it a stick.
I think it's called a hook or something. Also bad.
But Dr. Amy knew the guy that.
Maybe she was telling you the story as she was doing it, because I was on another planet.
I think she knew him, or
anyway,
a mentor.
We'll have to. We need to have Amy on the show so she can tell that. But what was immediately different was driving ourselves to the hospital in like a
cruising.
Like,
cruising.
Okay, we'll pack a bag. We'll
Very
have some
nonchalant.
breakfast. Then we'll get in the car at 10 till 8.
It was odd.
Just very
odd.
cool, calm, and collected. Very opposite of Nora, where my water broke and we haven't packed a bag yet. Oh,
We couldn't even get out of the driveway for Nora because our old place where we rented had this U-shaped driveway and it was a sheet of ice.
Yeah.
But a lot of you already know that story.
Cue Alex taking a cooler of hot water to try and pour
how do you
on the driveway.
de-ice a driveway without the salt and the gravel and all that stuff? So I was like, got this giant cooler, filled it with warm water, and I think I did 20 trips to de-ice it with warm water. It did the job.
Yeah, you got us out of there. So immediately, very different from the first go around. So we're walking into the hospital to check in to get induced, and we do all the paperwork. We're shown to our room, and Amy comes in about 30 minutes later. The nurse says, "Here are all your things. Get dressed.
Yeah.
Like put the gown on." And I just kind of sat there, and I was like, "This is just weird."
Yeah.
And then there were all the postpartum items right there in the bathroom, just waiting to be used. And it's, wow, it's happening. Like, that's when it all kind of hit me in the face.
Yeah. Very different.
So yeah, I got in the gown. I got on the bed, took some photos, and hey, this is happening that I knew we'd share later. And then Dr. Amy came in, and it was time for the water break.
That looked really uncomfortable.
I think honestly, it was probably the most uncomfortable part of the day, aside from that epidural wearing off.
Yeah.
There's a little foreshadowing of what's to come. But what's unfortunate is that I was only, I think, 1 centimeter dilated at the time still. I mean, truly, y'all. Like, I still could be pregnant. Like, this baby just didn't want to come out. She was very happy. And look, you can say what you want about, waiting till the baby's ready. Ultimately, I trusted my doctor. So on with the induction and the water break we went. And I don't think she got it the first time, so we had to do it again.
It looked gnarly.
It was excruciating.
This I'm not going to call it the stick. No.
Either one
but
sounds
yeah,
terrible.
I mean, again, we didn't experience this the first time around, so very different. And, I hate seeing Leslie in pain. So that was troublesome to see
not fun.
This.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. But then it was
epidural time.
It was done. What was really weird though? Right before she broke the water, they did the needles and put my IV in and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to feel really bad then. Remember
yeah,
that?
that's right. You got a bit nauseous, right?
Yeah, it was really and she was like, "That's weird because it's just like saline or something." I don't know. Maybe that's
fluids
wrong.
and
fluids. She was like, "Do you
eat.
get anxiety with needles or anything like that?" And I was like, "No, never." So that was really odd. And I was like, "Can I have some Tylenol? Is that allowed?"
Yeah.
And
you were out of it there, like just.
They gave me some medicine and I felt better. Then came the water break. Ugh. And then it was just kind of smooth sailing there for a while. And it was that very familiar feeling of constant pee.
And that's when you get the Pitocin, and then they start to increase the Pitocin, which increases the contractions. And
you're skipping along here.
Sorry.
Yeah, the day did not go that quickly.
Okay, sorry.
I continued to pee, which, I mean, I guess the water breaking just feels like constant pee.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know.
Yeah. I was dragging the fluids over with you to the restroom there, back and forth.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because I hadn't had the epidural yet. And so whenever I needed to pee, Alex had to take the whole monitor system into the bathroom with me.
Yeah, it's a lot of things.
That was fun. And then it was around noon.
Mm-hmm.
And the nurse came in and I was like, when is too soon to get the epidural? There is no better feeling in the world than an epidural. Okay. And if you do it naturally, I bow down to you. However, if you're on the fence about an epidural, I say hell yes.
Leslie was high as a kite, flying first and second time.
It is. And then my doctor was like, Leslie, never do drugs.
Yeah. It was, she was loving it. But you've also got to pick your time really carefully, because if you get that too early and they've only got so much of it loaded in, you've got to get like a reload, which we'll touch on that later. But I have a confession to make, something Leslie doesn't know about the day. Leslie didn't think I had lunch. While she was flying high on the epidural, I went down and got a snack. She thought I didn't eat, but I went down to the cafeteria before it closed, and I got 2 packs of sushi, and I smashed that sushi.
You did not tell me that.
I lied. So I was like, I'm not hungry. I did, because Leslie couldn't eat. I didn't want to make you feel bad because you hadn't eaten. I didn't want to bring food up, but I was like starving. So I'm like, fuck, I'm just gonna sneak downstairs and get some sushi.
What a gentleman.
So that's a bomb being dropped right now.
Hey,
so
it's totally fine. You could have said it. That's one thing you can't do when you can't eat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I knew that going in.
Yeah.
That's why we had a big breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
However, God, those hunger pains. And then trying to push when you're that hungry. Yeah, it's interesting. So on came the epidural.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the man with the drugs. And he did a great job. Flying high as a kite. And my mom is like, what are you talking about? Like there aren't hard drugs in an epidural. Yeah, they're narcotics.
I guess so. I don't know. I have no idea what's in it, but I'm sure they're numbing. They're numbing a lot of things.
Oh yeah. It's good stuff.
Okay.
It's Yeah,
Can we get a partnership on the company that whoever makes the epidural? Like, Leslie's a fan.
I'm sad that we're not having any more children because that means no more epidurals.
Hey, I would love to have so many more kids, but they are so damn expensive.
Yeah.
I'd love to have 3 or 4.
We need to win the lottery.
We need lottery. We need lots of things to. Anyway.
People do a lot more with a lot less,
Yeah.
But
we thought about traveling with kids too. Like before number 2 came along, we're like, do we want to have 2 kids? Which, it's a lot. It's like traveling. The more kids you have, travel is our business.
That's another.
Sorry,
another plane ticket.
I'm going off topic here, but it was a discussion we had before baby Lily came along.
She's here. She's coming. She's coming along.
Anyway, back to the birth story.
Back to the epidural, y'all. I remember this is how ignorant I was when we were pregnant with Nora, and I was discussing with Dr. Amy about the birth plan. And I was like, okay, can I get in the tub and have an epidural? She's like, no.
She's like, what the hell are you saying?
She's like, you can't do a water birth and have an epidural, you idiot. Oh god.
She's so no bullshit, Amy. We love her.
She's great. We worked very well with
her.
You
don't always get your doctor because they do a certain shift. So we just so happened that she was on that day.
We were induced.
Yeah.
When she was in the office.
Yeah, but last time we didn't get her because it was
because I went into labor at I think I had Nora at 3:05 a.m.
It was really nice to have our doctor who you get to know in these appointments, and we love Amy. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, shout out Amy. We love you. And so, am I flying high as a kite at this point? Are we back there?
You're flying.
Are we back there?
You're flying.
I'm basically drooling on myself. I have no idea what day it is, what time it is. I'm so happy. Y'all, even when the doctor came in with Nora and she came in to give me a cervix check and it was, middle of the night. And she was like, oh my gosh, you're at a 10. She goes, you ready to have this baby? And I was like, oh, what? Can we just hang out for a little bit longer? I feel so good.
I remember that.
And then
15 minutes she was out.
Yeah. I did not hang out with the epidural any longer.
Yeah.
And so anyway, cut to, November 2023. And I'm maxing out on Pitocin. They cannot give me any more. And I'm really not progressing as fast as I thought I would. And so it's the waiting game.
Yeah.
And we're waiting. The sun's dipping.
What time was it again? I can't even remember.
She came at 6:57 p.m.
That's right.
But I mean, it was just a really slow afternoon and a slow progression.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you think I should post an Instagram, telling everybody I'm here. We're here. We're having the baby.
She's like completely coherent to be making these decisions. I'm like, whatever you want, babe. I'm here to support you.
Somebody take my phone away from me. But I do remember getting that post ready, which took it. I think it took all afternoon. I think I was like, hey, should I post
She's
this?
in and out of
in and out. And finally, I think it was just after 6 or so. And I was starting to get in pain. It's like, this is weird. Like I'm pained right now and I'm not flying high as a kite anymore. I'm coming down to earth. And I was like, I should just get this post out of the way. So that's when I hit publish on the post where I was like, hey, I'm about to have this baby. And that's right around the time our nurse who helped deliver Nora came in. She was like, hey, it's so good to see y'all. You're having a second child. And I was like, I am in so much pain. Can you help me? Like, I don't know why I'm in this much pain, but I am. And I kept trying to push the give me more epidural, because there's an epidural button you can push to give you more.
Maxed it out.
Max that out. And so she was like, I'll be right back. I'll go get your nurse. We'll get you
the guy,
the anesthesia.
Yeah, he does the reload. Anyway, he was busy.
He was in an emergency No, that doesn't make sense. I don't know what he was doing.
He was nowhere to be seen.
He was occupied. And it was around that time where they had pinged Amy Paige Day made to come back because I think she was about to go home. It was like end of the day.
Yeah.
And
Shift change.
And this is where I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm going to get any more epidural. I'm finally going to like my fear here is about to become real. Cause I've heard a lot of horror stories about like epidurals not working or it only working on one side. And the really cool thing about this is that women's bodies are truly fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And, I think all of my fears stemmed from fear itself. Like just the pain of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think I wanted to feel like a natural childbirth. And with modern drugs, you don't have to.
Yeah. However,
mine were wearing off, and I was coming to the conclusion that like, all right, I'm about to feel it all.
The ring of fire, wasn't it? Because that's what I remember Amy saying. She's like, do you feel fire down there?
Yeah.
And you were like, yes.
Yeah. It was like, it was odd. Like I could just felt this, I guess that's the best way to describe it. Like ring of fire, I think is when the baby's head starts crowning. But what's odd is I knew this baby was coming very, very soon. And I think what we had discovered happened was I hadn't progressed for a long time. Like I just wasn't really progressing. And then all of a sudden this baby kind of shoots down the birth canal. And so that epidural couldn't keep up. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I was feeling. I was feeling her coming down the birth canal and like really, really ready
That's wild.
to get out. And Alex, I was like, get up, put the music on. I need something. Like I'm about to feel it all. And then he puts on Dolly Parton.
It was some playlist and there was a lot happening.
Working 9 to 5. Like,
you're working. Shout out to Dolly Parton. We love you.
Yeah, but I don't need Dolly on my, it wasn't
I think
what
there was some.
And then Hanson came on. Like, y'all, if I can give you any advice.
Shout out to Hanson. It's been a while.
Bop. If I could give you any advice, it would be to make a labor playlist ahead of time. And I just really didn't think, I didn't need one with Nora. And so I didn't really think about it with Lily. And then it came time that I needed a labor playlist.
Yeah, Katy Perry was
Baby, You're a Firework?
Yeah, I don't know.
They're all bad.
Something was like blaring and like talked to Amy at one point. She's like, I need this shit turned down. She's like, turn it down. Because, she needed to hear the baby's heartbeat on the monitor. And it was getting very serious there at one point. So the playlist. So
I think my last photo the timestamp of the last photo on my phone pre-Lily was 6:41 p.m. Mm-hmm. And I'm in position. My legs are in the stirrups. I'm like grabbing your other hand. You just snap the photo, and the timestamp is 6:41 p.m.
I think I sent that to the family. We had the family message chain, and they're like, "Keep us updated."
And she was here at 6:57 p.m.
Yeah.
So what felt like an eternity, it really wasn't. But in those few minutes,
it was very intense.
It got dicey, and. Yeah, I'm in position. I'm ready to go. My legs are in the stirrups. And she's like, you remember how to push, right? And I looked at her because I'm still kind of in that hazy epidural fog. And I'm like, yeah, you just push. Like, that's all I kind of remember. However, pushing in an epidural fog, even though you can feel her, like I could still feel Lily coming down the birth canal, but I was still in this brain fog. And so it was all very strange. It's not really what you want because when you get an epidural, you don't want to feel anything. However, I could feel a hell of a lot, but I was still everything was still felt a little numb. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to know what you're doing down there. Really. I mean, I was pushing to the best of my ability. However, I don't think it was good enough because we did this a few rounds, and then she asked Alex to give me oxygen.
Yeah, that started to get scary. I was starting to see the doctors and the nurses' behavior change, and they were starting, and I was like, okay, so I'm holding the oxygen and things just started to take a little bit of a turn.
And yeah, oof. I'm going back there mentally right now, and it is dicey because I was very confident in my body, but I didn't want to have an emergency C-section, and I knew this was getting close to that. Like, that's the road we were heading down. Everybody was thinking it. Nobody was saying it. And you were doing a great job of keeping me present and giving me oxygen. It really did help. And at one point, I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but at one point, Dr. Amy looked at me and she goes, I need you to push the hardest you've ever pushed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was scary. It was scary. And that's, in the corner of my eye, I saw the NICU staff there on standby, which Leslie was kind of oblivious to, but they were called in, ready to go for this emergency C-section.
Oof.
Yeah, it was really scary. And seeing someone you love in, this predicament of life or death for the baby, and the Dr. Amy has to make a split decision on what to do because Lily's heart rate was starting to drop, and they've just got to make a decision. So she was like, you got to give us the biggest push of your life. And I was there, and it was just...
And in my head, I'm like, okay, like, I know what I need to do. I'm trying over here. And then you're just, you're so weak and hungry and don't know if you're pushing because you really can't feel your lower extremities like extremely well. So many thoughts going through the brain.
Yeah. Amy was doing some techniques, and they have tools and things to try and help pull the baby's head out.
But she was doing
the most.
She was doing the most. She really was. And she'd be like, okay, great. I'm happy with this heart rate. If we can keep it here, I'm good. But that would fluctuate, and then it would get really dicey again.
Yeah.
And then she was like, she's right here. You want to touch her? Do you want to touch her head? And I was like, yeah, okay. And so I touched her head. Like, she is right there, and she's just not coming out. And
this happened in my birth too. I had my umbilical cord wrapped, different, but I had my umbilical cord wrapped around my neck, and every time my mother pushed, the umbilical cord would tighten like a noose around my neck, and the doctor had to go up. And anyway, I obviously don't remember that, but when I came out, I was blue. And I knew that happened to me, and in the back of my head, I'm like, oh my God, I do not want anything like that happening to Lily. And it was very scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, childbirth is something you can never prepare for fully. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And each one is different.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it was kind of, it was going to go one of two ways.
Touch and go there. It was really scary.
One of two ways. We were going to get this baby out right then and there, or we were going to book it to the OR and have an emergency C-section. And I think everything kind of lined up for Dr. Amy to use a suction, like a vacuum. And she did it once, and out she came. And I got like a glimpse of her, and she looks pretty blue. And they handed her off to the NICU nurses. And I remember then talking directly to Amy after that, and it was kind of jovial and not very serious.
Well, I cut the umbilical cord.
That's right. You cut the umbilical cord.
Do that before she could
so
go.
I knew when she allowed you to do that, like, everything was okay.
Yeah.
And
I was really happy at that point to cut the umbilical cord. I was like, okay. And you hear the screaming. You're like, okay, they're screaming, they're breathing. But yeah, as soon as I cut the umbilical cord, it was like straight over to the NICU. Like, boom, 2-3 nurses all around her and checking all the vitals and doing all of that. So it was very intense, like 30-minute period or less.
16.
It seemed like an hour or longer.
Yeah, it was wild. But that's the story. And she was there, and she was beautiful and 6 pounds and 9.5 ounces
Mm-hmm.
and 19.5 inches long. And within, I think, 15 minutes, my mom was there with a whole pizza,
Yeah.
which I ate most of.
Yeah.
And it was,
How do you feel about it being your last? I mean, it was, yeah, scary, beautiful, like so many emotions. I know you're getting me emotional over here.
it was awesome. It was so, I mean, it had a great ending.
Yeah.
Like how could it not be
Yeah.
awesome?
Very grateful for a healthy baby. That like, just want to thank all the staff, the medical staff there at the hospital, and Dr. Amy, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
just
And I think my mom coming and being able to be there was like,
we didn't get that last time with Nora. COVID was, there was no guests allowed except for the husband, and it was really special. I took that photo. I took like that beautiful photo of you and your mother and Lily, and seeing your mum emotional and you, and it's just the joy is overwhelming. Yeah.
yeah, it was so good. And then there's pizza and like turkey sandwich,
Yeah.
Diet Coke. Like it was just everything you could ever want in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we're stoked. We're so happy for number 2. The family is complete.
And then to make you, they press on your stomach, get the placenta out, like contractions are still going. They make you get up, see if you can stand up and like pee on your own.
God, it's so
And
intense.
then and then it all comes back to like the physical.
Mhm.
It's a wild ride.
Yeah.
And then we move floors.
It just blows my mind what the female body is capable of to just go through that, and it's a phenomenal thing to witness. It's so special. I think it is the greatest accomplishment in life to give life. I feel.
Yeah, it's a massive privilege.
Yeah.
It is truly awesome. Yeah, and then those first few moments with her, that first night with her, it's a shit show. It's just like it's nobody's sleeping. You're
Nobody's
like, oh my
sleeping.
gosh, who is this brand new being in my arms?
Yeah.
And you just like getting to know each other.
It's definitely a lot easier the second time around. The first time you're just like, what the hell am I doing? The second time around, it kind of, the memories kick back in, and the meconium, that first poop comes out, which is like tar. You're like, oh my God, this is hectic.
I don't know. It would be interesting to note who out there thinks 0 to 1 was easier, or 1 to 2 was easier, or 2 to 3. I think 1 to 2 was a lot easier than 0 to 1.
Yeah, for sure. Because again, you have at least a bit of experience there.
But I totally get, I totally understand like 1 to 2 being hard as well.
Mm-hmm.
It also rocks your world.
Yeah.
Because it's rainbows and daisies at the hospital, and like you have this precious new being in your arms, and then you get home and you're massively sleep deprived again. And not only are you completely sleep deprived, but you have a toddler.
Yeah. Just to circle back, do you know what else rocks your world? Those beds at the hospital for the men and partners out there. Those things are as hard as a brick.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I know. It's like,
You did so much.
I know. We have a lot to go through, but those beds at the hospital, those day beds are shithouse. Let's just be frank, okay?
Yeah, I don't envy you one bit. That doesn't look
But
good.
hey, if that's the worst thing we got to go through, then
So be it.
so be it. But yeah, no, very, very happy for you to come out without an emergency C-section. Not everyone is so lucky. My sister had, I believe, 2 emergency C-sections, very big babies, very unpleasant births. So we've been lucky to have 2 really much more fluid births, that less pain and less, it's a lot of recovery with those C-sections, having seen what my sister's been through. And yeah, we're very grateful for that. And just to have 2 healthy, beautiful girls, I love it. I love being a girl dad. I think it's one of the best things.
We going to go for number 3? You want a boy?
Unless I win the Mega Millions tonight. It's not happening.
No. We are complete.
I would love a third, but I know I'd get another girl, which is fine too. But, there's something about it'd be nice to have a boy as well.
Hey, the heart wants what the heart wants. And the heart, for me, wanted girls.
Well,
I feel very blessed.
You got them. You got them. What do you think? I think that's a wrap on this episode.
Yeah, that was...
I'm emotional right now.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. Going back there is something. It's beautiful. It really is. Like I said at the beginning, if somebody were to ask me the most thrilling thing in life, it's not bungee jumping. It's not jumping out of a plane. It's not, any of that. It is childbirth.
Yeah.
That, February 12th and November 2nd will forever stand out to me as the best days of my life.
Yeah. Well, I cannot relate at all to that experience, but it was a pleasure to be there and witness it and be by your side through it all and be the best supportive husband I can be.
You truly, truly were. Yeah, I will say, there's nothing like childbirth. There's also nothing like falling in love. And that is another thrill. Whoa. I'm so thankful for you and what, everything that brought us together. You can see that on the first episode of the podcast, how we met.
Yeah.
And that about wraps it up. My 3 favorite people in 2 podcasts.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Next episode, do we want to announce what's going on or do we want to keep everyone on the edge of their seats for episode 3?
I like a good surprise.
All right. Surprise it is.
See you next time.
See you guys.